Good morning. I'm Frederic Fouquet. I'm from Mega, and thanks for attending today our webinar on the 7 keys of data governance. So the webinar is going to be a 45-minute webinar. You'll have some poll questions to start, and so let's start. Let's start then. Okay, so I'm Frederic Fouquet. I'm a senior product marketing manager for Mega at Mega. I'm a data governance and AI expert. So I've just been working in the field for 20 years, being a product director for AI for companies, and as well I was a consulting director for data governance and innovation. So our agenda for today, so we're just going to cover Chief Data Officer goals and priorities in 2022. And we're going to have a reality check on what's going on the field, especially in projects. And the last point is just cover the topic of today, and that are 7 keys for let's say efficient data governance. So Mega is a company that is well known. It is let's say a market leader from in the Gartner quadrant for 13 years in a row. And we're just we have a lot of peer insights and elements coming back from customers. And we're just known by Forrester, and Spark Metrics. So we've been working in that field for quite a long time. So we just champions, especially enterprise architecture, in business process, in GRC, and we just worked as well in data architecture before. So Mega is a provider. Obviously, we have a solution for data governance. So that's the only slide about our solution I'm going to show today. Especially we're just providing predicted data governance. We're just providing accelerators and full solution, and we just give the ability to the companies to leverage on strategic initiatives, such as working with business processes, using IT and portfolio and architecture knowledge, and making some links with GRC. So you can see our solution structure and modules on the right: discovery, data catalog, business glossary, and data comparison lineage. What are Chief Data Officer goals and priorities in 2022? So actually at Mega, we have the approach just to meet our customer and prospect regularly, especially customer during when they're just expressing needs, especially setting up programs, just to understand the expectations, to understand the use cases and the trends. We just proposing our evolutions and innovation to our customers, and we just really want to get some feedbacks. So that's one point. The other point is we just want to find as well synergies for the customers. So you see, this is a feedback from that we just get from interviews and meetings with chief data officers and data governance managers in several industries, and that banking, insurance, and so on. So for the key challenges in 2022, so obviously we still have the same challenges about just getting building data knowledge and knowledge about data. It's about discovering data. It's about creating data catalog and business glossaries. That's the first step. The second challenge is about being able of data integrity, especially what's the quality of data, how is it transported, let's say transformed and used. That's the second point. It's really about quality and data flows. The third challenge is about compliance, just being able to implement all the different regulations that people have to, and company have to just be compliant to. The fourth challenge is about value, creating value with data, because data governance is about getting that knowledge of a data to be able to use it for specific new use cases, such as artificial intelligence based on data. So the fourth challenge is about creating value, is about value for innovation, is value for company performance. And that's the first challenge and the first goal. Last but not least, the challenge is about community. So chief data officer, they have to set up community. They have to set up data offices, and they have as well to be able just to recruit data owners, just to motivate the community, just to participate in the program. So these are the simple challenges. But in 2022, we can see that chief data officers, they express the need to have connected data governance. It means that they want to connect data governance to other strategic initiatives to the company. Could be to the business, could be to strategy goals of the company, could be to some other, let's say, initiatives in the company. The second challenge about is integrity, is about data. So we can see that there's a lot of change for chief data officer. They express it that let's say the IT systems are just moving really fast, so they have to adapt. So governance had to be really adaptive, actually, just to be able to anticipate what's going on in systems, especially to get the latest information on systems and on our quality. For compliance, compliance is a really big topic. We're going to see it a bit later, especially in detail. But the issue is that people, they want to be efficient in implementing data compliance because they're just getting new regulation every day. And there's something that has to be done. For the value, as I mentioned, two trends about how to make my data catalog in Business Glossary available to the customers, to my users, especially as the chief data officers, because I want them to be, I want it to be really easy for them to be able to use data. This is what we call data shopping. About creating value with data, and especially with data governance, I mentioned as well as about just to be able to enable data innovation with AI. And the last challenge, really in 2022, is just, okay, I have to serve my community, but how do I promote data literacy? How do I handle a change in my organization for the people to understand that data is really important to be shared? Needs and priorities for chief data officers in 2022. So in summary, first thing, they have as well to be they have stretch budget actually to set up data governance initiatives. So they have to master budgets. They have to handle technical complexity because data is everywhere in systems. They have to find a way to handle that. It takes a long time to set up, so they're really willing to find some accelerators. They need to speed up setting up programs. Something they face is that sometimes people, they tell them that the data governance is way too much technical, it's not really business oriented. So they have to find a way to move from technical to business data governance by federating tools and initiatives, as I mentioned before, in order to foster synergies. I just mentioned as well the compliance and quality. So they have to accelerate compliance and quality, obviously. Develop the data community, and finally, being able to develop maturity of their own data governance. So these are the goals, these are the elements the chief data officer want to achieve in 2022. But what about programs? What's going on in programs? So let's have some feedback from the field. So let's take a standard data governance approach, as it's in 5 stages. Or 6. So first thing is about usually chief data officer, they start to define the data governance strategy. They have to define the strategic objectives. They have to define priority use cases, and they have to set up the data office organization. That's the first step. The second step is they have to discover data. So it's about data discovery in systems. They have to create a data catalog that is a technical catalog. They have to create a business glossary that is the business item and concepts, especially made catalog. Third part, as soon as they have data catalog in business glossary, they can work on compliance and data quality. So just being able to implement compliance and to measure or to concentrate, let's say, to synthesize all the data and measures about quality in the organization. The fourth step of the approach is then to communicate and to federate the community. So just to explain what's going on, especially on the works that you are doing, and especially on the fact that the community is growing, and they're just implementing nice use cases that are just giving giving really good elements. And the fifth step is about is valuing and reusing the data. As I mentioned, that's the first goal, actually. That's really the first goal in order to improve operational performance and to innovate with AI. So from that approach, the feedback we get and we see from Chief Data Officer and from programs and projects, what's going on. So when just working on data governance strategy, actually the time to set programs is really long, actually. It's long, and it's really risky for the programs. So the programs have to be set up in an agile way, and the people they have to see some quick results in order for them to just to keep the interest in the program. The second point is about maintaining the programs. So that's tough because that's a really big investment, and data governance is not about just building just program once. It is about just being able just to survive to the changes in the strategic objective and goals, and to the changes in the IT systems. So that's what we see from the global point. And if you get to some more detail, we can see that there are some difficulties to recruit data owners, especially from the business, because the Chief Data Officer has to meet the link between the business and the data office. So that's really important to get data owners. So there are some difficulties there. Sometimes people in the company, they don't see the return on investment, on the value, and that's something that's popping up. When in the discovery phase, when just creating the data catalogs, there are several difficulties just to get access onto data and to systems. So it's really difficult because you need everybody to share access to the data in order to make it available to everybody else. As I mentioned, but when you're just working with the community, sometimes community they feel that it's too technical, and that they see the link with what they can do. And the effect is that there are few users for data catalog or business glossary. So this is another indicator that something has to be done, actually, just to fix the program. If we just focus on some other elements, just in some more detail, if you just focus on the second stage, it's about discovering data, it's about documenting data. That is about creating data catalogs and business glossary based on data discovery. So first thing is for programs, when data is discovered, usually companies, and it happens really often, is that they don't have application knowledge. They don't know what's the systems, they're not mastering that part. So it's just slowing down the programs. The second problem there is that when creating the data catalog, once the data is discovered, so you got the type, and you have to just to qualify and to classify the data. Is the data is about customer? Is data, let's say, private data? Is it sensitive data? So the problem is that data catalog and discovery doesn't provide the context of data usage. So this information is still missing and has to be searched in the company, and that's another issue. The third topic is when they just try to create business glossary. Sometimes they want to try to do it from the discovery and the data catalog. But the issue is that it's difficult just to work this way because you have way too much technical information to handle. So usually we're going to see it in the 7 keys. Is that the works have to be separated from the data and the technical side and from the business side. So for the 7 keys of data governance, so here are the 7 keys. So we can see that in order to answer the different issues that the companies have, and these are, let's say, good practices that really work on programs and really worked on programs. The first one is about just involve the business, because you really need to have the business just being part of the teams since the beginning of the program. So that's the first one. That's the first key. The second key is just trying to upgrade your data governance level to the business data governance level, to the connected data governance, just to not to be stuck on the technical side. The third key is about being able to handle compliance and just to find a way to accelerate it. And that's the third key. Then the next key is about working on quality. Is about just to get all the data quality measures and rules that are already existing in a company in order to enhance data value. The fifth key is about being able to accelerate data governance. So how to speed up the process, how to find a way to have it efficient. As part of the data governance, so data as a life cycle. So that's part of the story, that you have to model the data life cycle. So there's a way to master that and just to accelerate that as well. And last but not least, is about just doing a lot of work, and chief data officers are doing a lot of work, but they have to use they have to ease the data reuse. They have to provide a way for the people to consume business glossary and data catalogs in a convenient way. And with the 7 keys, actually, it just really helps, and it really helped a lot of customers. So the first key is about involving the business. So as a chief data officers, you need to federate your community. You need to recruit data owners, as I mentioned. That's really key, because this is the way to make the link between the business and the technical stakeholders. So at first, the way to do it, just to get everybody just sharing the data, that simple sharing initiative, that's devastating, that actually everybody shall, let's say, share the data, and everybody will be happy. But actually, this way just got really limited success. We can see that about involving the business, data regulation is a great motivation, because everybody in the company has to be compliant with data regulations, because otherwise just the companies just get some big fines. So this is the first thing you can use actually to involve the business, and I'm sure you're just already using it. So this one's about just putting a lot of effort and just complying. And the second one is about data innovation. So you can get business involvement just linking your data governance programs with data innovation. If you can link with some special use cases that are just proving return on investment, that it's even stronger. So you have to get all those things in line, just to be sure that you're just setting up let's say the right motivations. And then you need to communicate, because that's a really big font. You have to show, you have to just to make all the goals really clear, and especially what you want to achieve, that you're just supporting really critical topics in the business. And you have to show your data office works of progress and your successes over time. So for example, and this is one example that can be done, is that you can, for example, you can show some, let's say, some dashboards for your data community. And this dashboard is about, it's a chief data officer dashboard. And this one is about just showing your community, just the breakdown of your community, especially that actually you have hired and found some data owners for the different business topics, such as HR, sales, for example. That you are providing let's say, support on the topic with some data stewards and people working on quality. Sometimes in big companies, you have your top chief data officers. In some of one customers, they have a big chief data officers and 80 chief data officers in subsidiaries. So we can see that we have a data owner that is able to answer to the questions from the business users. So the topic is just your data office is working on the topic. And we can see as well who is using, how many let's say how many people are using the data, and how many data scientists are using the data as well. So this is the way just to show that you're just growing your community, and that you're just making additional data available to everybody. The second part is about just communicating your data office works. So first one is about discovering data. It's about assigning roles to the data you discover and starting to. Oh, okay, there's a question. So the question is about, yeah, actually, sorry, I'm just stopping for a second. For the question is that is this question about chief data officer just before? Yeah, okay. In big companies, so there's one global chief data officer that's just handling the topic, and we have a customer that's a really big bank. Actually, they have let's see 80 chief data officers in different branches that they have, actually, because they decided to have a big different people, just for the people to be involved in the program. So this is why you see 3 chief data officers, but that's not always the case in some companies. Sometimes in smaller companies you start just with 1, but it's really depending on your size. So you're just going back to the presentation. So just going back to showing your data office works, that's about typing the data, classifying the data. Then after is about being able to define the business glossary. So we're just starting to synthesize the different items in the systems and just start creating business terms. So you could have, for example, several customer data information in several systems. It could be in CRM, it could be in the financial system, and so on. And finally, then in the business glossary, you have special versions, and that just have one customer in the business glossary. So that's the creation, starting from the technical side. On the other side, you can work as well on the business glossary. And then finally, you're just typing as well. You can see the progress that you're making. So this one is a really detailed, let's say, a really detailed dashboard. But you can use other ones. But that's one that's just giving all the information to the chief data officer. So we just you're just showing what's going on in your works. You have as well, just you're able to show as well how far you're doing, how good you're doing on your works on data quality, especially because you're working on the quality level. So you can see the quality level for that you have in your company so far. You can see that you just have data quality campaigns. It's about measuring data quality. It's about remediating data quality. And the second point, and this one is important as well, just being able to work on data lineage, just to being able to discover or to document, let's say, data flows in your systems. So that's a point that you can show. You can show that just doing good progresses in there. The second part of this of the dashboard is about compliance. So as soon as you get a new regulation to be implemented, that you have to start to be ready, just to put everything in place. So this is a way just to show that you're just handling topics, and this one is just a time diagram. So we can see that we're just implementing several topics in different regulations. Okay, what you don't see in this diagram is about use cases that are implemented, but you can show as well that your data governance program is used to implement data innovation with AI, because AI is just using your data catalog and your business glossary. So something that could be added just to have everybody on board and everybody really motivated and excited about using your data governance program and tools. So that's the first point about business, just involving the business. The second key is just you have to get your data governance to be, obviously data governance is a technical issue and technical topic, but it's really business. It's business data governance, and you have to be at that level. So really, we're just making, and we are all making data governance to serve the company's business strategy. And that's really important to make the link. First, to know your company's strategy, to understand the goals and the use cases. Usually, the company just gets, let's say, described into some use cases. So especially it's about working on the customer service, it's about working on improving, let's say, financial system or operational performance. So these use cases, you have to get them, actually. It's very important because this is the way for you to show and to have everybody understand what you're doing about data. It's not about only discovering and giving, let's say, providing data catalog. So you need to get them, you need to be connected to the head of your company, and this is what the chief data officer usually do. From those use cases, actually each and every use cases, they just specify data that would be really useful to be used, especially if you want to understand, if you want to work, for example, on predicting customer behavior. So you understand that you have to find some data on customer, and if you go to the business glossary has to tell you all the really linked data that could be used. So you have obvious data, this could be orders and so on. But in your systems, as soon as you work on data governance, you really see that some additional data that is really actual data in your systems can be used actually to implement the use cases. So it's working both ways. Start from the use case, understand which data would be interesting, and this data is the one that has to be governed first, because this is critical data for the company and for the, let's say, for the company future and development. So as I mentioned, and this is what I expressed just before, you have to align your data governance program with the strategy, because this is the way for you to implement, and you have to align, and you have to answer use cases in terms of priorities, and you have to organize your program, especially discovery, is about catering in data or business items. You have to organize it in an agile way, just to be able to prove that you're just solving issues and problems and providing really a big, let's say, big value to the company. There's something additional is that, so this one is really on the strategy side, on the top level side. That's something as well that we just mentioned, that you have to really to synchronize from the technical standpoint when just implementing your initiative. You have to synchronize your data catalog and your business glossary. So usually companies, they want to discover data, technical data, and they create their data catalog. And then after they think, okay, I'm going to work on my business glossary next. I'm just going to get to have everybody working on defining items. Usually companies that they have some problems at that stage because they have so much data, and sometimes they're not able to reach the goal of building the business glossary. So what we see for champions in data governance, they just separate the topics. They really separate the topics. They work on the technical side and they work on the business side as well, but separately. So for the business glossary, so they just work on items. They just work on items with data experts, let's say field experts, and they even build some big company models. And on the other side, they have some other team that is working on databases, big data. They're just scanning and discovering data in the systems in order to build the data catalog. And on this side, there's another work that has to be done. So the ultimate point is that in order to have the whole links and the ability to navigate between different the technical and the business side, you have then to be able to synchronize what you have in the business glossary and in the data catalog. And as soon as you do this, then the people they can start working, and they will going to work when we're doing some data reuse. They will starting browsing on the business glossary for the customer concepts and all the different linked data that could be used. Then once they selected, let's say that those elements, they can do some additional data shopping. They can go down and use this link to the data catalog to select which data version they would like to use, especially in terms of quality, of freshness, and content as well. Though this point is, this is the way just to have that link for everybody. That's the second key. For the third key is about working on regulatory compliance. So we can see that obviously we all know that the problem is that every single day we just get a new regulation to be compliant with. So the chief data officer, they have to face that problem, and they have four steps for this, that special key to have some efficient regulatory compliance. The first step is about to have some regulatory monitoring, just to understand which regulation is coming to you. That's the first step, just to know as soon as possible that you have to implement it. There's a new, for example, there's a new regulations coming, that's Data Governance Act from the EU. So it's just going to impact the EU, but we all know that we're going to have to implement it, especially for data governance. So you need to know it beforehand, and just to have that info as soon as possible. The second enabler is about centralizing all that information. So you need to have a central repository where you store all the different regulations that could be external, that could be internal as well. And that's the first step, because usually the regulator, they just might come to your place and just ask if you're compliant. So you shall prove that you're complying for each and every step in the data compliance part of regulations. They're just implementing procedures, audits, and data compliance. So you have to then, starting from that regulation, you just need to make the link and to implement the different elements. So you just have all the, they said, all the networks of elements you're just implementing. And the last point that's really important is that it's sometimes when we get some new regulation, and when we see chief data officers getting new regulations, is that some things you have already done, especially implementing data controls, for example. So for each new regulation, if you have that centralized repository with all the procedures and data controls, you know exactly, you have to identify what you need to implement, just to implement the data that needs to be done. Because you don't need to reinvent the wheel, and actually it's really time consuming. So that's a way to survive that regulation flow. The fourth key is about improving quality, because yeah, that's something that we all know, but it's really strong, for example, for AI. So I'm just going to talk about this for 2 minutes. Yeah, actually, yeah, when you want to work on just to create some innovation on data, you have to have some quality data. So it seems really obvious, but the fact is, algorithm from AI, actually, they're just working on data. And if the data is not, if the data is not stable enough and with the right quality, the algorithm cannot be stable. So if you're trying to predict, let's say, customer behavior, for example, if you're just doing on some wrong data or bad data, it will never be good enough to be used in production. So what you're just creating as innovation will never be used in, let's say, in the company. So this is where it seems really obvious, but this is something that has to be done. And that's a big topic, and that's not a new topic to the companies, because the companies that have been working on quality data for quite some time, the only fact is that usually quality measures, quality rules, and they're just spread across the company. So all those rules, this is not only about measures, because we all know the measures for data quality. We know all the 7 measures and scales. But it's about rules. So this information has to be either measured, or usually is about centralizing what you already have in systems, rules and measures. Once you are just getting the quality measures, depending on your priorities, on your cases, and especially on what the company needs are, you can define which critical data has to be, let's say, corrected, and that's this is the way you just prioritize, because you don't have all the, let's say, all the resources in the world. So you just define critical data, and then you have to launch either, okay, that's for the, let's say, campaigns. So we can have campaigns and the quality measures. Yeah, sorry, I just saw the element popping out. For the 50, so see the programs are taking really long, and we saw that in some companies that sometimes the programs fail because they are not in an agile way, because they are not delivering fruits in a regular basis. That's one point. And the second point is sometimes the different step that really taking really long. So you have three main accelerators. Sorry. You have three main accelerators. The first one is about automation. So you need to have some discovery modules when you're just working on data to be able to scan what you have in systems, especially that are really unified modules. So modules, they have to come as well with connectors because you need to, and the customer, they have to be able to interface any system they have. And they really value the fact that they can use ready-to-use connectors to discover data structures in let's say in regular systems, in regular databases. It could be in big data. It could be in IRM. It could be ERP. Sorry, it could be in CRMs and so on. So yeah, discovery modules and ready-to-use connectors are really useful. We can see that automation in data catalog creation and in business glossary creation and updates are really important as well. But that's from let's say from the technical side. Whereas you have other accelerators that could be used. This is one I'm going to show. That is about if you have already people working on IT solution architecture, IT portfolio management. That's really important for data governance. And we've seen, actually, we saw in a lot of customers that they're just joining forces with enterprise architecture teams and process modeling teams as well. So for IT solution architecture knowledge, they have usually two interests, just to be able to do easier data mapping, it's about easier data typing and cataloging. And sometimes they want to do some easier data lineage as well. So if we use let's say knowledge from ES systems, especially in solution architecture management. So this one is coming from a modeling that's for system. So in this one we can see in the system we see the different actors and the different data flows that are occurring. So this coming from an enterprise architecture, and this information is already handled by EA teams. So two elements and two pieces of information that were really useful to our customers. And the first one is about application knowledge. So as let's say you're just handling your IT portfolio or your IT solution, you know exactly where the data is, and you know as well what applications that are manipulating the data, what's the aim of this application. So these elements, especially if you connect to systems that are just managing say that information, it's really interesting because you can have some real-time information on your application, and this one is really useful for data mapping, even for so let's say just to have your data governance and data mapping evolve in time. We can see as well that let's say the solution architecture management provides application and meaning about application flows from let's say the modeling side. We can see that, for example, in this one is about just producing wages. We can see that we're just expanding using data, especially employee attendance information, to create wages and going through payroll. So this information is useful as well because when you're working on technical data lineage, you're just getting the technical data, is a transformation in systems, but it's really useful sometimes to get all the information you have on the what's going on the global level, on the business rules, and that information can be used, and it's really accelerating the data governance. Okay, so the sixth key is about mastering data lifecycle. So yeah, obviously that's a part of data governance. No data is static, and data is changing, and systems are changing, and data has to be modeled. Yeah, the cycle has to be modeled as part of data governance. So it's about when the data is created, when the data is used, when the data is disposed, and so on. So for this part, we saw that there is something that's really useful, especially to understand the data lifecycle from the business standpoint, is about using process modeling that is already used in companies. So we have big companies that are industrial companies. They started from processes, and they implemented just working on data governance based starting from process and the master data, because it's just giving it's just providing benefits for the both sides, if for the data governance and for process improvement side. So for this customer, the question is about how do I model the data lifecycle? How do I get to understand where the data is created, captured, or when it is disposed as well? Because sometimes, for example, for private data, this data has to be destroyed at some point. The data lifecycle again is about understanding how the data is used and how the data is transformed. And all this information for this customer and some other big ones is already there, is already in business process modeling. So this process modeling, this process there is about order management. So we can see this is just an example there. We can see that in order to create the order, so the end user has to send some information to the call center. So this is where you're just getting the data. So just receiving the data, just processing the data, then the data gets into the system. So we just see where you capture the data. Then after, we can see that somebody is calling, just identifying the person, and then just getting maybe some additional customer information to validate the request, and just checking the data there. So we can see that some customer information is used actually to identify, just to be sure that we're just dealing with the right customer. So it seems that this is some personal data. It's really important data. So then after the request is validated, and then so we have a basket that is updated, and then just we have an order that gets created. So this is where we can see that you see the business concept order just gets created, that's just submitted. So, and we can see that this concept can have several stages. It could be it's just order is submitted, just getting payments, and then as soon as just that order is done, then we could create the invoice. So in this diagram, we can see they say data lifecycle for the the different business items that we are just having in business glossaries or in data catalogs, and really understand. And that's really important because we get all that information and we understand actually data in life in real conditions. So this is another key for you to implement. If you just have, and usually people and company they're just implementing business process management initiative. So this information is really important because you just get that information, and you get as well the context, the intent, and all the transformation. So for the seventh key, and is about so chief data officer, they put a lot of effort in the just setting up business glossary, just modeling business items. Data discovery is taking a long time. Working on data lineage is taking a long time. And people really, they would like to be able to use it in a convenient way. So the business glossary, usually people, they see it as as a book, let's say, or that's a dictionary, but that's no longer the case. So what they want to see, they want to have is the business glossary to be able to do some data shopping. So the data shopping, as I mentioned, is that we're just starting from use case. So starting from the use case, just searching, for example, customer in the business glossary. I'm just searching for all the different additional data axes that I could use, because it's coming from the business glossary, it's coming from the system analysis. And then I want to select the customer. That could be the orders. It could be logs from let's say navigation on the website, customer journey. And so just starting to do the shopping in selecting one item, and then all the different items that could be interesting to you. Then after, in order to be able to use data, actually the actual data that can be used in the system. So this business glossary has to be, as a second step, as to provide you the ability for each item in the business glossary, as you have multiple version in systems, to be able to find and pick the one that the final user would like to use. Because customer data could be in financial systems, customer data could be in CRMs, customer data could be in big data. And the fact is, as people, they really want to implement the use cases to be a success, they will select appropriate data. That's the data with the right quality, with the right freshness, and the right content. So that's the first step. And it's really important, because usually, and that's another pain that we saw at the beginning, is that sometimes companies, they set up really big programs, and they just suffer and just invest a lot in creating business glossaries, but they don't see anybody using it. So it's not only about communicating the fact that you have a business glossary, it's about to make the link, and to have the people that just being able to use the work you've done to deliver the value is about data. So this one was about AI, but that's exactly the same for operational performance, just to improve global company performance. That could be customer service, for example. So you have to promote your business glossary in a way for the people to be easy to, as I said, to use it and reuse it. So we're just focusing on business user and data scientists, and the UI has to be really nice. So for example, you can see that this is especially a new business glossary that is in data shopping mode. So for this business glossary, first you have a simple search that is for people, they start working there, they just want to work on this one. Is the item is a piece of work. So we just search for piece of work, and then they can see all the different concepts they have in the business glossary. So business glossary could be in one context, it could be in one system. So they have to understand the context. Then the user has to be able to quickly select the one they would like to see. For example, just to filter on business domain, filter on data category. When you're working on your data, let's say your data category business glossary, just putting tags, they have to, obviously, they want to work on some validated information. That's really, that seems really obvious, but that's sometimes not the case in business glossaries. And last but not least, sometimes they want to, because they already know and they will work with some data owners in our businesses, they can refine the search based on ownership. So as soon as they refine, they're able to select, and on the right side, they see a synthesis of what's really important. So they have first a detail pane there, and this one is just summarizing. So I can see this is piece of work. So I've got a data owner, I've got the data stewards, I have several data stewards. So I know the people I would be able to contact to understand if the data I'm just browsing is the one I would like to use. I can see the definition. I can see see the business dictionary and the status, synonyms, eponyms, and eponyms. And there's something as well that we don't see there is that in the date in business glossary, you're able to see as well the quality level and if the information is some first definition for the moment. On the advanced pane, people they able as soon as just business has confirmed that is the item they want to use, then after they can use the advanced pane, and in the advanced pane they can select which version they want to use in the different data systems, because for this item they can have several let's say version in data systems. So there's simple search, as mentioned, the simple list and selection filters. And this one is, yeah, it's about description. So just provide a way for the people to browse your business glossary in the let's say the kind of Google style or Amazon style. That's the both ways. But for them to easily search and select and pick, they're just because they're just working, and they're just sure that they're just using the right concept. And then the other point is being able for them to select the concept, and the concept they will really want to use, especially from data systems. And with all that information, people they see that they can leverage on the business glossary and the data governance program. And that's about it for the presentation. I think we were a bit fast, I think, but we may take any questions if you have any. Yeah, so we have questions about the slides and recording to be shared. Yeah, obviously, yeah, we're going to share it afterwards. Maybe if you have any questions. Okay, so I can see that, yeah, a few questions. So you saw during the presentation, during the presentation, so there was a fact sheet about the solution. That, yeah, you can see it right now. Thank you. And it's possible as well, just to, if you want to see additionally to the 7 keys. Okay, so there's another question. Sorry. So there's a demo about the solution also. Okay, can you differentiate between data governance, data management, and master data management? Okay, so data governance is we can take it from the DM book standpoint. So data governance is about organizing works and organizing programs and processes in order for the people to be all together working together. So it's about defining roles, and that's the first step that the chief data officer they have to implement at first, even before choosing a tool. So data governance is about organizing works. Data management is about setting up repositories and especially being able to create data catalogs and business glossaries. And this data management usually is focusing on the metadata management. So it's really focusing on the structure of data and systems for a simple reason, because it's a way to simplify complexity. You just so the difference with master data management, so it's not metadata management. Master data management is about working with reference values in systems, and that's really a separate topic. That's really a separate topic, actually. The fact is, these are really different topics. It's about reference data and data governance. So when we speak about data governance, this is a proxy for data governance for organizing works and to manage the data. This is both from a metadata standpoint. Do you have any other questions? Okay, so I think, yeah, we don't have any other questions. So basically, we'll just be sharing the slides and recording afterwards about the 7 keys. We just shown as well some materials about the solution we provide. We'll be really happy if you want to discuss your data governance programs, and especially if you have some specific needs. We're just able to provide demonstrations. We have a demonstration on the web that were already provided in the chat, and okay, so there's no question. So we're not closing. Other one measured success of data governance. That's from. So you have different ways to measure a data governance success. First KPIs, but your business glossary and data governance tools usage. So this is something that chief data officers they really monitor, because they can understand if the people are really using the tools, and which data is really important. So monitoring usage is important. That's from a, let's say, from a usage standpoint. Data governance value, let's say that the success is that you are the ones that you are enabling data innovation and performance based on data. So the work you're doing just really impacting use cases. So you have to make as soon as you can the link with the company strategy, the use cases you're serving in your program, and the results that people are getting. That could be customer service improvement, it could be sales improvement, it could be internal or finance or fraud improvement. That's the way to measure our success. And the last point is the success is the other another measure for the chief data officer itself is if you're able to recruit enough data owners, because you need to motivate everybody in the company, and that's the role. So this is why communication has to be, let's say, a communication strategy has to be put in place. Just going back to the. I'm just going back to the keys if you have any questions. So we still have some time for questions if you have any. Yeah, do you have any tips on how to engage data owners or data stewards? So data stewards, usually they're part of your organization. Actually, this is your team. And they are really there, and data custodian as well. They're really there to support data owners. Data owners, usually they're part of business, so you can engage them, because just going to them just to understand the needs they have and the use case they want to implement, and what their priorities are. So data owners are from the business side, and as soon as you link to their needs, actually they start to be interested in what you do. Another way to engage as well data owners is to find a way to have a quick win with them. especially with data, because usually it's where they suffer the most. Sometimes you find a way to ease their pain and to provide specific results on your data governance side to give really big benefits to them. So it's a way to engage them. It's really a way to motivate them and to handle, because if it comes to success, then they're really happy just to talk about the data they're owning. And actually, they're just taking part of the work because they have a data steward that are backing them up, especially on the technical side. So it's really a teamwork. And as soon as you have success with one data owner and one use case, then you have to communicate the success, and especially to show it on the board level. And then the people, they get really motivated. And you can see that other data owners there, you have other data volunteers in order to work with you, especially with your data governance program. So that's a way. Okay, another question is about which are the preferred tools for an easy to search business glossary. So obviously we're just providing one. We invested a lot on this feature that just went out on the market. The fact is, what's important for the search, you have two ways to search for the business glossary. So you have the tool, you have the search engine in the tool. It is for, let's say, for the much advanced users. And this is the interface we've seen in the slides. Is that what's important is that people they need to have everything available at a single place. That could be the way to browse, the way to see what they have in an easy way. If they can see really the details, that's that synthesis there, and they can select and filter. So that's for advanced users that are from a data users and data owner standpoint. The second tool, because there's another way to present your business glossary, is that you can show it using some intranet. So it's another way for everybody in the company to have it. So that's another interface, but that's important as well to make it available to everybody in the company. So that you have the two levels actually. First one is for people to do the data reuse, and then after it's for all the employees in the company. So in this one, you can use intranet, special intranet that we just the companies they're just implementing with our software as well. Do you have any other questions? Okay, so I think we're just reaching the end of the session. So as I said, you're going to get some question or poll, or you got it already. So just have to check. We'll hear just if you have any additional questions or anything you want to share, and that's about it. Thanks a lot for attending today. I'm just searching. Okay, thanks. Okay, thanks for attending today for the session. Sorry for the technical issue at the beginning, and we're just there if you want to discuss the topic, and we'll be happy to present our solution at any time. Thanks a lot.